Hello, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mangs, and today I welcome you guys to a brand new Advanced Wars by Web replay commentary. This match has a little bit of a funny backstory to it. So I got a couple of friends who hangs out in the Advanced Wars by Web Discord server, and a little while back one of them sends me a message and says, "Hey Mangs, there's this guy in this Discord server and he's very vocal about your skill level. He thinks that you're an incredibly bad player and that you are teaching people bad habits and that if he ever were to fight you, he would crush you." And I was like, well, that sounds very interesting. Let's challenge him to a match. Send him an invite link. And tell him that, he can pick the CO. He can pick the map if he wants to. If this guy is so hell-bent on showing everyone what a bad player I am, let's play a match together and let's see how good he actually is. Now, I know a lot of you guys are gonna be like, ooh, post the messages in the video. I'm not gonna do that. That's hanging out someone's Discord account, and considering I am a YouTuber with a big following, I feel like that's kind of punching down and bullying people, and that's not what I want to do. But I thought that it was a bit of a funny backstory, and I will say that the guy ended up being quite nice and friendly in DMs. It's not like he was a rude, unpleasant person. He was just very vocal about the fact that I wasn't as good as I say I am. And I will also say that I think this is a bit of a misconception. When I make videos like this, I know I talk from a position of authority and that I kind of talk in an educating way. But I will say there are a ton of players on this website that can really kick my ass. I mean, I uploaded the game with the Drake player a little while back, so I am under no illusions that I am like some Advanced Wars grandmaster or anything. I make tons of little mistakes, and I lose a lot of my matches on this site. The only reason why I don't upload all of them is because for me to upload a match, I want it to actually be a good, entertaining match. And sometimes if I just lose on day 10, it's not really worth casting. I have no problems uploading a game where I lose if it's an entertaining game. Anyway, enough talk about that. Let's talk about our choice of COs. So I told my opponent that he could pick his CO. He said that he mains Lash and Sonja, and I was like, okay, that's a pretty balanced matchup, so you pick either Lash or Sonja, and I'm gonna pick the other one. And he ended up going with Sonja. Now, I've already talked a little bit about both of these COs, but I'll do like a very quick recap of their powers and abilities. Sonja, of course, she gets 1 extra vision, her units do 50% more damage on their counterattacks, she hides her HP from the opponent, which is very annoying, but she does have a bad luck modifier, so sometimes she'll do a little bit less damage. Her normal power, Enhanced Vision, allows her to see into woods, which is pretty good, and it also gives her extra vision. And her superpower Counter Break does the same thing, but in addition to that, it also allows her units to get to first strike. It's a very cheap power, it's a very strong power. Lash, on the other hand, is also a pretty strong CO. She gets 10% extra firepower per terrain star, so very good on heavily terrain map. Her normal power terrain tactics isn't really something you want to pop most of the time, it just allows her to move through terrain at no cost. Can sometimes be good if you want your recons to kill a rocket, for example, but most of the time you just want to pop prime tactics. It does the same thing, but in addition to that, it doubles terrain stars, so she will get a lot of benefit from terrain for that one turn. Now, I think that this is a relatively balanced matchup. I consider both of these COs B-tier COs. I will say that I picked a map with a lot of terrain on it, but this also benefits Sonja because there's a lot of forest here, and of course if there's a lot of forest on the map, Sonja's powers become a lot more powerful. But I will say, looking at this map in hindsight, I probably did pick a map that Lash performs really well on, and if I wanted this to be a slightly more balanced matchup, I could have picked a map with less terrain. So I will give that to my opponent. I did have a slight edge in terms of the terrain. Now, talking about the map, this map is called Where Giants Have Fallen. As always, I will post a link to it in the video description below if you want to go check it out. I did end up enjoying this map quite a lot. It has a lot of roads on it, but it also has a lot of mountains in the middle, so there's a lot of good potential for mech plays here, and also a lot of forests to hide your units. Of course, you gotta be careful about hiding your units with Sonja. Now, each player has a comm tower. It's kind of like off the beaten path, but it's not contested, so you'll have to send an infantry out of their way to go get it. And I think the only strategy revolving around these comm towers is how quickly each player decides to grab them. Grabbing them too quickly is not really going to be a point because they don't give any income, so you're basically just sacrificing early game economy for a firepower boost that might not benefit you. However, if you forgo the comm towers for too long, your opponent might grab one, and they might enjoy a 10% firepower increase for a couple of crucial days in the early game, and that can actually hurt you a lot. So even though there will be no fighting over these comm towers, when you decide to get them because they're so far out of your path, will make a difference in the game itself. You also have these empty missile silos right here. They are pretty good for Lash. They are basically cities that can't be captured, but they still give 3 terrain stars, so Lash enjoys that 30% firepower boost on them, which is pretty nice. And the HQs are also pretty exposed, and that is another point in favor of Lash, because she can perform that ever-scary Prime Tactics HQ cap, which you have seen me attempt in some of my previous games. So again, I will say overall, Lash does have a slight edge in this map right here. Alright, so let us jump into the match. One of the things I really liked about this one was the fact that I actually got to play as Black Hole as Lash, and I'm up against, well, not Yellow Comet, I think this country is called Amber Blaze, but it looks like I'm up against Yellow Comet. I like it when the matches look visually correct, you know, and also the units are facing the same way, which is good. That means the map was properly created. So, I am player 1, my opponent is player 2, so he starts out with an extra infantry. So I start out by building 3 infantry. We start with 3 bases on the map, which I really like. I tend to like the maps that have more bases on it. I think 2 bases is way too little. It makes it very annoying in the endgame when you have to like spend 2 of them building infantry. I just don't like it. So then it's the other player's turn, and in addition to starting with an extra infantry, he also has a captured property right next to my base. So this is something some maps do. I think the map creators' rationale is that they don't think that just the extra infantry is enough to weigh up the first turn advantage, so they also put a captured property right next to the opponent. What this basically forces me to do is to cap this property, and until I cap it, I'm giving the other player 1,000 funds every day. So this will usually lead to a 2,000 funds advantage over the other player. I think that an extra infantry is a pretty big bonus, because over the course of the game, this infantry will cap a lot of properties and give a lot of money to the other player. So I don't really agree with this. I don't think that an extra infantry and a captured city, I think that's actually a little bit too much. Kind of like, you know, when you play Hearthstone and you get the coin and an extra card. It's almost better to be player 2 than player 1 most of the time. You know, but some map creators likes to do this, and I do see it, but I think it's a little bit too much. So, anyway, nothing special going on here. Both players just building infantry. I'm starting to go for the caps. I, of course, go for this city right away because it gives my opponent money, so I have to get rid of it. And I decide to go for some of the properties in the center early on. Being Lash, I feel pretty confident going for a very contested capture because I'm up against Sonja. Now, of course, Sonja does have really strong counterattacks, but she's kind of weak on the offense. And the fact that I get that 30% firepower bonus, if I can cap a contested city, and my opponent only has infantry to interrupt it, they will struggle. They will struggle a lot, actually. That is one weakness that Sonja has against Lash. If Lash attacks Sonja, Sonja is pretty strong, but if Sonja has to attack Lash, Sonja doesn't like that at all. So again, just both players building infantry, nothing special here. And my opponent goes for the caps as well. Goes for an early airport, which is very interesting. And continues to build infantry. Now, my opponent also seems to go for the comm tower, which is very interesting. So, you can already tell that he is looking to be aggressive in the early game right here. He's going for the airport, and he's going towards the comm tower. So, that indicates early battlecopter play. So, again, I continue to go for the HQ. And here I was like, I can actually do something incredibly cheesy here if I want to. I can try to instantly cap his HQ. And you can see I can do it next turn, and if he doesn't move this infantry down, then I can actually just win the game right here. So this map, the HQs are very exposed, so you actually have to be very careful. If you forego the center in any capacity, your opponent can actually just waltz up and interrupt or take your HQ, and unless you have an infantry in position to interrupt it, you will just lose. So I continue building infantry, and I too go for the airport, and I go for an early game recon. Most Sonja players do tend to rush out of recon really early on because they enjoy that insane 6 vision. So I figured, you know what, why don't I get a recon of my own and try to counter her recon. So, and I go for more infantry. My opponent continues to capture, and yeah, she goes for the airport really early on, and that indicates, again, early battlecopter play, or possibly like an early game transport copter. We'll see what Sonja decides to do. And goes for a tank right away. Now this is a pretty good intuitive play by my opponent right here, going for an early game tank. I don't know if you watched any of my replays or watched any of my games, but I think it's quite obvious at this point that I do favor the early recon a lot when I play. I just really enjoy rushing out of recon because even if I don't get to harass my opponent, I still think it's very nice to scout them and see what they're up to. I just really like having the vision, I like having the control, so that's why I tend to rush out the early game recon, and I think my opponent might be aware of that. And that's why he put out that early game tank, because he knew, okay, I'm up against Mangs. Mangs likes to rush out the recon. I'm just gonna build a tank right away, because of course the tank is the perfect counter to the recon. So, and again, anyway, he continues to cap, and my turn rolls in. And here, you know, I could have won the game right here. Yep, I could have won the game right here. I'm noticing this right here. I decide to go for the city. This tank is blocked off by forests. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This infantry is not in range. Yeah, if I had just gone for the HQ cap right here, I would have won. It would have been a very boring match, but I would have won. But the reason why I ended up not doing that is because I thought, okay, so chances are he probably might have an infantry or something in this region. If I go for the HQ cap, he will see it. However, this city, there's a good chance he might not have vision on the city, unless he spammed out a recon or unless he put an infantry in the mountains. So it should be possible for me to take the city and actually get a nice little income lead over him. I could have gone for the gamble. If I had done so, I would have won the match. But it would have been a kind of a boring victory in my opinion, and a little bit of a cheesy victory, and I personally wouldn't really have felt good about winning the match this way, so I decided not to do that. So here comes the recon, and again I just want to scout out, see if I can spot any infantry and do some harassment, and I too decide to go for the airport. Don't hesitate to build battlecopters as Lash. A lot of people don't like to do this because she doesn't get any bonuses from terrain stars, but there's nothing wrong with her battlecopters either, so don't hesitate to build them if you need to. Now, as you can see, my opponent is actually going for the com tower, and I am completely foregoing it. So I move towards the center here, and now I decide that, okay, I do have to try and get this com tower. However, if I stop to capture the city first, it's going to be many more turns before I reach it, and my opponent is a lot closer to it than I am. So move my infantry into this mountain right here to get some scouting information. I see that there's no infantry here, so I feel pretty good about that. And I continue to build more units. I build a second recon right here. So at this point, I'm not really so sure if this is a good move on my end, but I really didn't know anything about this guy or how good he was, and so I felt like I needed 2 recons just to scout him out on both sides, because again, like, I really wanted to win this match, and I took this match very seriously, because again, I saw the Discord messages this guy posted, how bad I was and how he would crush me. And I was like, you know what? This guy's probably pretty good. If he's that confident about his play, he's probably pretty good. So I really need to scout him out and figure out what he's up to. And that's why I built a second recon. And so far, he has the perfect response for both of them. So, and here he sees that I am capping his city, and I don't think he can do anything about it because that wood blocks his tank. So I'm going to get that city right now, right next to his HQ, and I'm pretty happy about that. So he continues to move out, he continues to cap properties, and he's actually foregoing his com tower too. He's moving this infantry into the mountain instead of moving it towards the com tower. So we're both actually just delaying our com towers, but that's fine because no real engagements have actually been taken yet. And he spams out some more infantry. He's saving up money, as you can see. This is a classic move if you want to go for battlecopters. I mean, he has money to spare and he has income enough to build it. So next turn he'll be able to build that battlecopter, and I do think that's what he's going for here. So my turn rolls in. I decide to go for some of the properties in the back, as well as going for some in the center. And I do decide to stop and get the city right here instead of going straight for the com tower. And yeah, I just continue moving out. I'm feeling pretty confident in my ability to hold these caps. And I move my recon in here. He did not see this because his vision extends here, so he was not able to see this recon, so he doesn't know it's there. But as you can see, just look at the vision that Sonja tanks have. It's incredible. Like, it's absolutely incredible. 4 visions on these tanks. They're almost as good as other players' recons. So in a sense, when you play as Sonja, you don't actually need to build recons. You can just build tanks, and the tanks will almost be as good scout as the regular recons. Of course, if you push out that recon, you're gonna get 6 vision on the unit instead of 5, which is pretty good. But still, it's something to keep in mind when playing as Sonja. So yeah, Sonja's turn rolls in right now, and the Sonja player moves forward. He takes a shot at my infantry with his tank. I think this is a pretty good move on his end. In fact, he's probably going to be able to take out the infantry completely. And here, boom, I was really mad about this. So this was definitely a good luck roll as Sonja. Like an infantry versus an infantry on a city. I do believe infantry base damage is 55%. Then you have to subtract 30% from that, and then you have to add luck or subtract the bad luck. So I will say that in most cases here, this Sonja player should not have been able to kill my infantry. I think he got very lucky with his good luck roll right here. I think he rolled basically as high as he could have done. So when I saw this, oh, that looks like we have a bit of a UI bug. Yeah, so sometimes when you go back, you fuck up the replay a little bit, but don't worry. Like, I think as soon as my turn rolls in, this infantry will vanish. And yeah, here comes the Battlecopter, very predictable. I should have known that this is what he was doing. And yeah, look at that, my infantry vanishes right now. So I see this and I'm like, okay. I decided to go for the airport, and here I am strongly considering taking a shot at his infantry with my recon right now. It will probably kill it, because it's going to be a recon with 30% extra firepower. The thing is, he will take a shot at me with his tank, but it's a Sonja tank, and I'm on a city, so my recon won't really be that damaged. So I continue to cap as I'm like really weighing whether or not I should try and kill his infantry or not. Even if it's going to come at the cost of my own recon, although it will get supplied because it's on my friendly city, because I captured it earlier. I move my recon up here in the forest just to scout him out. I don't see his recon. And I build a tank, of course. I have to build a tank in preparation of his tank right here. And I build a mech. Mechs are going to be pretty good on this map because of all the mountains, and especially when playing a slash. And I actually decide to end up taking a shot here, and I one-shot the infantry. So again, he took out one of my infantry, but I got a city from it. I decide to take out one of his infantry. And yeah, I know he's going to shoot on my recon next turn, but here's the thing. The recon will be repaired, and then I can pull it back on the HQ to repair it even further, and that should mitigate most of the damage. Now, a lot of people get very confused regarding my stance on repairs. They say, oh, Mengs, you say not to repair, but then you repair a lot. What I'm saying is, what you shouldn't do is you shouldn't pull a unit back and leave it on a building for 5 turns to get repaired. Taking repairs when you can get them on the front lines can be quite valuable. This is a good example of repairs being very useful right here. I'm going to get 2 HP repair here, and then I'm going to pull it back here later on the HQ and get 2 HP more repair, resulting in the recon going pretty much back to full health. When you can get them, repairs are very valuable. What you shouldn't do is pull a rocket like all the way back to a place where it won't be able to shoot, leave it on a property for 5 turns to repair it back up to full HP, and then move it back. What you've basically done is you've taken a unit out of action for 5 turns, you've drained a bunch of your income, and it has basically sat there and done nothing. So yeah, I hope I'm making myself clear in regards to repair. I do sometimes pull my units back, but only if I plan to use them immediately again the next turn. So, day 6 rolls in right here, and he takes a shot at my recon, and again, I do believe this was a pretty lucky roll. I mean, 6 HP off a recon on a tank, I'm pretty sure this should have done 5, but this is just my intuition. Like, I don't know, I feel like this should have been lower. But overall, I'm not very worried. I'm going to be able to pull that back next turn. It's going to go up to 8 HP as soon as it's repaired on the HQ. So, and yeah, now he actually is going for the HQ, which is good. And here comes the Battlecopter. He's being very careful about his Battlecopter, of course, leaving it out of sight of my recon, which is very good on him. At this point, I had no idea that a Battlecopter was coming. So here I move my tank forward. I don't think he'd be able to see this. Actually, no, he would be able to see it, because as you can see right here, because of the +1 vision on the tank, he's able to see the tank move like this. So he knows there's a tank here right now. A normal player or any other CO would not have been able to see this tank enter the forest, but Sonja, because she has that 1 extra vision, she's able to see it. This is why +1 vision on a day-to-day is incredibly strong. So I move my recon back again on the HQ to get it repaired up to 8 HP. It should be ready to fight next turn. And I decided to take a little bit of a shot at his infantry right here. I figured, why the hell not? And I follow it up with this infantry. And again, I'm not able to kill it. And I'm very surprised by this. I'm extremely surprised by this. I mean, yes, it's an infantry in a mountain, but it's a lash recon with 10% extra firepower and a lash infantry with 10% extra firepower against an infantry on a mountain. This infantry probably has a 1 HP left now. And I was very surprised at how much good luck he had in the early game and how bad luck I had in the early game, like in terms of the luck roll. So I'm pretty sure that infantry must be on 1 HP. We'll check next turn. But yeah, I continue going for the caps here. I move my infantry right here. I see that he has an infantry in this vicinity. I was a little bit mad by this. Honestly, I should have just gone for this property, or I could have put my infantry into the mountains, but I just wanted to see what he was doing. Right now, we're tied in terms of income, so both players are doing equally well in the capture game. So yeah, I continue to move into the center. I build another mech. And it is his turn. As you can see, yep, this infantry is indeed on 1 HP. I'm pretty sure if I didn't get a bad luck roll, I should have killed it. So, now he decides to go for the comb tower. He'll get it 1 turn before me, which is nice. And he moves in, he spots my tank, and he attacks it. And at this point, I was like, oh, this is not going so well. But as you can see, like, Sonja versus Lash. I mean, she attacks my tank, and we take the same amount of damage, because this is a Lash tank with 20% extra firepower. And I do believe my opponent got a slightly low luck roll here, because I'm pretty sure this normally should have dealt 5 damage. And here, he's already taking back the city that I captured. So at this point, I was like, not really worth it. I mean, I got to hold the city for what, like 3 days? Not really that worth it, honestly. And here comes the battlecopter, and again, he's doing a good job putting it out of vision of my tank. I cannot see it right now. I can move my infantry into a mountain, and that will allow me to spawn it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, actually not. Look, this is really good. This is excellent play by him right here. So look at that. He's counting the vision tiles. Infantry get 5 vision on a mountain, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good right here. So even if I move up on the mountain, I will not be able to see his battlecopters. He's doing an excellent job keeping it hidden from me. I'm not able to formulate an anti-air in response. He moves in with an infantry, takes out my infantry, and here's another tank going after my recon. At this point, I'm like, oh my god, this guy is crushing me. This guy has taken like 2 to 3 really good engagements against me right now, and I have taken basically none against him. So, and here comes the anti-air from him. I guess he's expecting an early game battlecopter from me. I have no battlecopters on the field yet, but again, building a preemptive anti-air, nothing wrong with that. You've seen how good they can be against infantry and the like. And he takes a shot at me here, and again, I'm like, oh my god, I'm taking so many bad engagements right now. I feel really bad about this match right now. Really bad about this match. I mean, just look at the value difference right now. 34,000 to 52,000. Not going so well for me right now. So, I take a shot at him, and again, it's so demoralizing to not see how much damage you inflict on Sonja. It really is annoying. So, but I decide to just continue on the capping game. You know, let's just do our best here. I pull back my units a little bit. I realize that if I keep them in the vicinity, I'm just going to die. I move my infantry into the mountain here, and I still cannot see the battlecopter, so I still don't prepare an anti-air. This battlecopter is going to really take me by surprise next turn. But here I decide to build a rocket, and this was probably one of the best decisions I made over the course of this match, because this rocket, you will see just how incredibly valuable this rocket becomes. There's a lot of good position to hide it on this map, lots of good forests. Of course, the dream with Lash is to have the rocket on a city, because that is a rocket with 30% extra firepower. It is so juicy, as long as you can properly protect it. Now, there's a lot of good positions there for this rocket. You can see in the city right here, it covers a lot of good ground. If you put it in this forest, you cover basically even more ground. Again, really good map for rockets. So, I continue to build some more units, and I decided to go for these captures right here. He's not doing a fantastic job having a presence down in the south, I will say. I have infantry in both corners of the map, even though one of them is an injured infantry. I still have captured the city right here. He has not sent a single infantry down to this area right here. So if he doesn't do anything about that very soon, it's going to end up hurting him quite a lot. So day 8 rolls in, and he takes back his city, so now he's evening out the income gap, which is very good. It takes up my infantry, so now he's eliminated my presence completely in the north here, so really good on him. And here comes the battlecopter, and he decides to reveal it, and at this point, I'm like, oh my god, he has a battlecopter. Oh, I'm so stupid. Takes a shot at me. There's no anti-air to deal with it. This battlecopter is super scary right now. He moves his tank back, really good on him. Again, repairs good when you can get them on the front lines. Getting this tank up to HP is going to help him next turn, so that's really good. And he takes up my infantry. So far, he's absolutely crushing me. But he's playing a little defensively down here, I will say. I mean, he does know that I have a tank right here, so I do understand why he's being cautious with this anti-air. But he's being very defensive down in the south here. He really does not want to let me take him. And here comes the medium tank, and again, you see that I have the perfect response to this medium tank, a rocket. So, I don't think he knows that I have a rocket yet. He hasn't been able to scout it, even though this recon... I mean, look at the range of this thing. Like, look at the vision. It scouts so much. But yeah, I gotta play really carefully here, because, again, if I don't have a proper response to this medium tank, it's gonna really suck for me. So... Day 8 rolls in, and I decide to. I think this is actually no. This is day 9. That was a UI bug, guys. that was really dumb. But I finally finished taking the comm towers, and now we're both even. The predictable anti-air comes out. The reason why I built my anti-air up here and not down here is quite simple. I figured that he will retreat his battlecopter to the north now because he realizes that an anti-air will be coming from the south. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna take a gamble here and pretty much predict that that's exactly what you're gonna do. So I'm gonna build my anti-air here instead. Hopefully, he'll pull his battlecopter up here next turn and I'll be able to shoot it down. So I'm playing a little bit of mind games. This is why Fog of War is, honestly, like, it's the only way I want to play Advanced Wars. I don't like not playing Fog of War. So I'm moving my tank, and again, it's so demoralizing to not see how much damage you do to Sonja. It's like, I hate it. Like, the psychological effect that it has on you as a player is quite considerable. So I move my mech over here to guard my tank. If he wants to take a shot at my tank with his tank right now, he's going to have to deal with a Lash mech. Of course, I don't want to take the engagement from a road unless I can avoid it, but still, I mean, Lash is just not really fond of roads. So I realize I cannot really do anything about this battlecopter right now, but I keep my units around still. I'm not just going to concede ground. I decide I have to take out this recon because it's a Sonja recon. If he gets to pull this recon back and just leave it in this forest right here, it can be super valuable despite being on low health, so I have to finish it off. And here I move my rocket in here, and you can see right here, like, this rocket, see how much ground it covers? It basically covers every single one of my units. No matter what units he moves into this vicinity of the map, he will struggle. He will struggle. So again, this rocket right here is so valuable right now. So I move my infantry back a little bit, I put my tank on the city, I guard my HQ just in case, and I keep moving towards the center. I'm not going to give him the center, and I build a second anti-air because I realize, you know what, if this battlecopter moves south, I am actually pretty screwed, because then my rocket is completely exposed, so I actually have to build another anti-air. But I'm okay with building multiple anti-air. Anti-air are fantastic at taking down infantry, so I'm completely okay with this. He moves in, and I was so happy about this. Even with the extra vision, he does not know that I have a rocket here. So unless he moves this battlecopter south, he will not know that there's a rocket here. The anti-air comes in. Pretty devastating. He moves his battlecopter down south as well, so very good that I built this anti-air right here. He still does not see my rocket. And he finally starts to capture, and he still doesn't see my rocket. So you see how good this position was right here? Even with the extra bonus from Sonja, he is completely oblivious to the fact that there's a rocket in the south right here now, which is so good for me. And he builds an artillery, which is honestly pretty good on him. Like, some indirects are required on this map. And he decides to go north here. He will start capturing my cities if I'm not careful, so I do need to be careful about that. And yeah, both players just moving into the center. Both people establishing their hold over the center. The center is going to be extremely important on this map. So yeah, it's actually day 10, guys. I don't know why it says day 9. It's really weird. Maybe I just need to refresh. And here I move in. I see that he has a unit here, and I continue to capture my properties. There's still some properties left on the map. I take down his tank right here with my rocket. And at this point, if he was paying attention, he probably should have known that there is a rocket here right now, because he only sees on his end that something shot his tank down, and he has vision over everything that goes on here. Maybe the rocket could be in this forest potentially. That's a possibility. But I think most players would be able to come to the conclusion that there is a rocket on the city or in this forest. So, again, so good to have infantry in the mountain here, just see the entire middle of the map. And I decide to take a shot at his anti-air, because why not? I know he has tanks in the vicinity, but with this rocket here, I feel pretty safe that if he decides to go full-on aggression, I'll be able to shut him down pretty hard. So yeah, I'm just continuing to cap here, putting units on terrain whenever I can. As Lash, it's so important to utilize terrain. You gotta put your units on mountains, on cities. You want to do this regardless of which CO you play, but with Lash, it's doubly effective because it will dictate how much firepower you get. But yeah. So yeah, I continue moving in. I move my anti-air north because I realized that an anti-air in this region will completely zone out any infantry. So even though I am moving my like a unit worth 8,000 up here where it won't really be that effective, I realized that just the ability to shoot down an infantry every turn is going to be quite valuable. And here I decide to build a medium tank of my own. At this point I know that he has a medium tank, and just in case this rocket doesn't get to shoot, I need some other response to his medium tank right here. So his turn rolls in, and here he does something kinda reckless. he moves his anti-air in. He decides to scout with it. He wants to... He probably just wanted to scout my indirects, so he's sacrificing a 3 HP anti-air just to see where it is. And honestly, I can... This is a good move on his end. This anti-air is not really going to do anything anymore, so using it, sacking it just to get some intel, I mean, that sounds exactly like something Sonja would do, so... And here he actually moves in his battlecopter. He takes a shot at my rocket, and at this point, I'm like, okay, so let's do some math, okay? This battlecopter is worth 9,000. It just took a shot at a rocket worth 15,000. It took 4 HP off it. Probably should have done 5 if it wasn't Sonja. So, but just for the sake of simplicity, let's say he took away half my rocket. So that's 7,500, right? It's going to be repaired up next turn. But he just sacked a battlecopter worth 9,000. So, unless it was to completely kill the rocket, this is not a very good move, considering he also throws away a 3 HP anti-air. So this is expensive units he's throwing away right here. And this rocket is just going to get repaired up to 8 HP next turn. It's going to cost me money, of course, but it's going to get back to full health eventually. It's not like he took this rocket out. But he sacked his battlecopter, which is very reckless of him. So when I saw this move, I was like, very interesting. And here he did another extremely big mistake. He moved his artillery over here. Sure, this artillery covers a lot of ground, but look at what's here. I mean, at this point, I don't know if he actually saw the mech in the woods, or if he saw the mech moving into the woods. He should have seen it if he was paying attention. But next turn, he's basically setting himself up for a mech from Lash on a mountain. That's a 40% extra firepower mech that's going to take a shot at his artillery. That's a dead artillery. So... And once again, he didn't see the tank, or maybe he didn't know that it was there, but he moves in. There's a tank right here waiting to just take a shot at him. So, again, setting himself up for a really painful turn here. He takes a shot at my infantry in the mountain. If he wasn't Sonja, I probably would have killed it. But he's moving quite hard into the middle here, I will say. And at this point, I was kind of scared about my HQ. So, yeah, he was playing extremely aggressive this turn. And yeah, capping my property. As you can see right here, I was kind of worried because, again, he was playing extremely aggressively on this map. So, day 11 rolls in. I have my prime tactics ready. I actually sort of considered popping it for a moment because I would have been able to just run through mountains with my infantry, but I decided, you know what? No. I am going to save up for my prime tactics here. My anti-air comes into play and it starts shooting at his infantry. I'm not going to let him take these cities. Absolutely not. And I push back, I take down some of his units. I was pretty happy about this. I have a mech here ready for that recon if he decides to move forward. I continue capping my properties. I have a slight income lead over him right now, 23,000 to 21,000. And boom, of course, here comes the anti-air. Takes out his battlecopter. I was pretty happy about that. So yeah, that was a pretty big loss for him. And here, I decide to go for the infantry. Boom, I take it out, and look at this. Oh, Of course, I didn't see how much damage I dealt, but that artillery is probably like on 1 to 2 HP right now. And I don't even bother taking a shot at it. I decide to shoot on his infantry instead. Continue capping, and here comes the tanks. Again, I don't know how much they do. I move my rocket in here, and I realize this is a little ambitious. I gotta be careful about this tank right here. But at the same time, I mean, look at this rocket right now. It basically zones out the entire bottom part of this map. And it's on a city too, which means it gets 30% extra firepower. Really strong. But I have to protect it, so I move my units around. I have to do something to push him back in the center here, because he's going pretty hard for my properties right here. So I'm sending in both of my injured recons. I don't know how much hit point that thing has left, but it dies, which is good. And I build more tanks, because I realize things are about to get very aggressive. And here's a really annoying thing about going up against Sonja. She will always get her superpower before yours, unless yours is really, really cheap. And of course, she pops her counter break. So now she's putting me in this awkward position where if I want to pop my superpower, I'm going to have to do it with Sonja's first strikes, which is just really annoying. And look at the vision she just gained. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. So she does a really big push here. Yeah, her artillery has 1 HP left, so that was completely useless. And he moves his tank in the minimum range of my rocket, which is a very skilled move on his end. Of course, he sees that or actually, no, yeah, now he does see that I have a medium tank right now because he can see into the forests. But still, this is going to hurt a lot for him. Even though he does have the first strike ability, so if I attack his medium tank will get to shoot first, which is going to suck for me. However, Sonja doesn't have that much firepower. So But overall, this was a really good counter break on him. He continues to push into the center. He continues capping like 2 of my properties. At this point, I'm really sweating. I'm like, oh my god, he's going to start capping my HQ soon if I'm not careful. I got to do something. This is actually really bad. But again, he's completely foregoing the south. And I have a lot of presence up in the north. So in time, I will actually get a pretty considerable income lead over him. So he shoots on my mech right here with his recon. This is an okay trade, especially considering he'll get to kill the mech afterwards. So this is pretty good on him. Takes up my recon, and at this point I am really scared. I'm like, okay, this guy is just mopping the floor with me in the center right here. This is not good on me. And he pops a second medium tank out on the field and builds some more infantry. And at this point I'm like, okay, I guess I have to activate my superpower right now, but I was really weighing the possibilities of maybe just pulling back, because it sucks to go up against Sonja with her superpower up. It is so annoying, because no matter what happens, she will just get the first strike, and it's just so hard to take engagements against her. But after thinking a little bit, I do come to the conclusion that, you know what, I am going to pop my prime tactics, and I am going to get aggressive here. I'm just going to have to eat those first strikes. So, yeah. I start out by wiping out, again, this anti-air really good in the north here, just killing 1 infantry at a time. He has to send a tank, and that's why what he's doing is building a tank right here. But by the time this tank arrives, every single one of his infantry in the region will be dead. And here, I was really, like, annoyed at this. I should have probably attacked his tank instead of attacking his infantry, but I couldn't let him get the city. I had to interrupt this cap. It was really important for me to take this cap. And this rocket takes down a tank. I don't think I saw how much HP it had at this point. I can finish off his artillery. And yeah, I have to interrupt his caps right here. I cannot let him take my cities. Really, really important. But yeah, you can see just how good Lash's superpower is. It's mobility, firepower, and defense all packed into one. The ability to just run through mountains, take shots at from those mountains with a 40%, 80% extra firepower increase. It's ridiculous how good Lash is when she pops her prime tactics. And here, I take down her remaining infantry. I start capping her city, because why not? Like, why not just go for some of the cities? Like, let's apply a little bit of pressure. And here, I move in with my medium tank, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Take your first shot. I got 40% extra defense on this bad boy and 40% extra firepower. You know what? Let's just... How bad could it be? I don't remember how much damage I did here. We'll see next turn, but I took 3 HP from Sonja's first strike, and I'm like, this is okay. This is completely fine. And I move in. And I reposition my tanks, and I move an infantry in here. I see that he has absolutely no presence down south here, and I'm very happy about that. I also see that there's no battlecopters coming from this airport, so I'm really happy about that too. In time, I'm gonna get both of these corners, so my income lead is, like, it's already very considerable, 25,000 to 21,000, so, and that is just going to increase from now. I decided to go for a battlecopter here, because I'm expecting him to roll in a tank here, and the battlecopter is a perfect counter to the tank. And yeah, you can see right here, I have a huge income lead, a huge value lead as well. And because of that, my opponent just decides to resign. So yeah, could he have continued fighting? Probably not. At this point, I think my lead was too considerable, especially considering this turn, I'm basically taking no damage because of prime tactics. So yeah, I think this resign was pretty warranted right here. I don't think he would have won. I do think we played with a 25-day turn limit, so there were 13 more days that he could have tried to turn this match around with, but once Slash gets rolling, it's incredibly hard to stop her. So, but I will say my opponent played really well in the early stages of this match, completely mopped the floor with me, got a bunch of really good engagements, but I think the losing move was attacking my rocket with the battlecopter. It was just too much value to throw away for the sake of intel. Even though it was a very in-character move for Sonja to do something like that, I do believe this is what cost my opponent the match. I also think that what won me the match was this rocket right here. This rocket right here is just too damn valuable. Once you get, like, if you can get a rocket into a position like this, it's a game-winning move. You know, this rocket is basically zoning out everything that happens in the south here. I will also say that another reason why I think my opponent lost was the fact that he didn't focus enough on the corners. He pushed a little bit too hard in the center. But I will also say that this match probably was a little bit more favorable for Lash, considering there's just so much terrain in the middle here to work with in terms of prime tactics. So I will concede that maybe we should have played on a less terrain map. Anyway, it was a really fun match. Hope you guys enjoyed watching it. And to my opponent, if you ever want a rematch, just talk more trash about me in the Discord. My friends will notice. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys again real soon. Bye-bye.